Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your girl Mitzi, and this is Mitzi. Let's think about it. Today we are thinking about courage to love more. Isn't that something we need to think about? So luckily here I have Glenda who's going to help us think about this in a whole new way. So thank you so much, Glenda, for coming onto my show, sharing your time and your perspective with me. Let's just dive right in. When you think of that phrase, courage to love more, what does that make you think about?
Wow, that's such a great statement and question. I think for me, it's difficult to love, period.
Oh
You
my goodness.
know, I mean, with all of, the things that are happening on the planet, with our own personal well-being, with our own, you know, traumas and different stuff that happens along the way, I think the question is, how do we deal with that? Because if you're not dealing with loving yourself, and what does that truly mean? And I'm not talking from an ego perspective because that's not really love. I'm talking from a perspective of I love myself and what are the barriers to love others? And how does that relate to me on an inner core level? And why can't I, or how can I love somebody else, but I have
Yeah.
to love myself first? So what does that mean? Right?
Exactly. Some people
Yeah,
don't even know themselves. You know what I mean?
exactly.
Like
I
they don't
do.
even know what they like. Like I know somebody who doesn't know what they like. They don't know they don't know how to love themselves. They're just figuring out all the types of love and now they're like, okay, now how do I deal with it because I don't like certain things or I don't love certain things. You know what I mean? So these are real things that so many people are out there dealing with. You know what I mean? Because we all come to this crossroad unless it was taught to love yourself at a very
Hmm.
young age. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not known, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
we go in life in this comparison trap, you know what I mean? This
Ugh.
cycle of just constantly comparing yourself because it all comes down like we first observed life. So we're observing life, how to survive, how to live, and then we're
Hmm.
on this comparison, and then it's like nonstop because it's like, how do you know when to get out? You know what I mean? How do you know when to step into that unknown of who you are as an original. Goodness, that was a tongue tied. So it's like, when did you realize for you that you needed to be your original authentic self? And how did you step into that unknown?
You know, I I think I felt fortunate because I grew up in a time where, and I grew up with parents that really allowed me to be myself. They didn't put, and that's not true for everybody.
Yeah.
They allowed me. Yes, there's parameters. Yes, there's rules like, don't hurt somebody, don't steal something, don't break something. If you do, clean it up, kind of stuff. Just all your basics. Um, but I grew up with kind of a latchkey kid, so my parents were kind of hands off in that respect. Lots of love, lots of let's play with inside this rule, but at the same time they let me find myself, and I think that is the key for everybody. Is you have to jump out there, you have to try stuff, you have to fall in love and then get hurt. You have to realize that when there's an issue happening, it's here, not necessarily there. What are my choices? Why did I make that choice? Like, be curious, be inquisitive. And I think those were some of the things that I really got to do. And I got to make a lot of mistakes and really find out who I was along the way. And who I was at 20 and who I am at 40 is like it's like a whole different
Yeah.
world, and that's not including marriages or children or any of that, because it all plays a part in finding out who you are, what you want, and what you don't want.
Oh,
Hmm.
yeah, absolutely. I agree 100% because you realize when you look back, like that has developed me, that has developed my character. That's how it has developed my outlook on life, my perspective, my personality. Like everything about you changes and evolves when you learn a lesson, when you figure it out, like, okay, this doesn't work for me, when you learn to respect yourself, when you learn how to set those boundaries within yourself and for other people and without you, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
outside of you, people are so used to being people pleasers. But then it's like one thing that I loved you said, how like you had to learn to make mistakes. You know what I mean? You had to
Hmm.
figure that out all by yourself. And that's
Hmm.
like, and you had to learn to love and all those aspects, you know? And I love that because people are so afraid to love
Yeah.
because of those misconceptions. Like, are they going to receive my love? Are they going to understand my love?
Yeah.
Are they going to even respect my love? And a lot of the times, people will reject others just because they don't reciprocate the same or they don't
For
understand
sure.
what their love is. You know what I mean? So it's like, what do you say in that instance when somebody keeps on misperceiving someone's love?
Yeah. Um, these are really great questions. And
It's
I
okay. It's
thought,
okay to
no,
think.
they're great. That's like these are deep questions. Yay. Uh, that's where I like to move in. Um, I think that I'm sorry, say the question one more time because I started thinking about something else
No worries. I kind of
related to that.
distracted you. No worries. I kind of like jumped in, so I apologize.
That's fine.
No, it's about like how does somebody respond knowing that there's a
Mhm.
possibility that misconception can happen when they try to project out their love?
Yeah. I think it's just being authentic. Just do it. Just, try to I always say try to ask questions, try to figure out the situation.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid, but and then there are going to be mistakes. There are people that are going to have different perspectives, they're going to have different backgrounds. So you're right. So that may be uh you may find yourself in a situation where it's weird or it's uncomfortable or they misinterpreted, like you said, whatever. But don't shut down, don't shut off, just continue to be you and not run down the path of people pleasing or just being afraid, because that's where the fear is. And you just have to constantly forgive yourself for
Oh,
situations.
yes. Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
I love that you said that you have to forgive yourself. Goodness gracious, people don't think about how
yeah,
forgiveness really does tie with love. You know what I mean? Because to love
absolutely.
authentically and to love yourself, you have to forgive yourself. I mean,
Yeah,
you don't know everything. You know what I
that's
mean? I
right.
don't know everything. You don't know everything. We don't know everything. We're literally learning every day
Day.
as we go. And if you
Yeah.
can just understand that, just be patient, then you can be
Hmm.
so much more kinder to yourself and to the
Absolutely.
world, and you have
Absolutely.
more compassion to the people who don't have that yet. You know what I mean?
That's right. That's
Because
right.
when you develop that forgiveness for yourself and then you learn to love yourself and then you have that understanding for yourself, when you go out into the world and you see other people like, oh, no, man, you know what I mean? You can like go to them and like, it's okay. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
okay. It's
Yeah.
it's all going to be okay. One day you'll wake up, one day you'll realize you were just you just were served something that wasn't meant for you and you took it and you ran with it in a way that now it's time for you to readjust and see
That's
what's
right.
really out there, you know? And
That's
I
right.
think it's that reflection, you know what I mean? Do you think
Hmm.
reflection and that taking the moment of pause for yourself is a good start?
Yeah, absolutely. I think so, 100%. And just having the bravery to step out, to step
Yes.
forward, to just, reach a hand out to somebody, even if they're like you were saying, even if they're grumpy or, having a bad day, try to have the compassion. And like it happened to me the other day, and I just said to myself, don't react to that because maybe you don't know where they're coming from. You don't know what just happened. You don't know if someone's dying in their family and they just don't feel good and they got mad at you because they thought you did X. You know, you don't know. And so it's better on you to not react or interact with harder, it's easier said than done. Uh,
Yeah.
to react to something that just went down because
Mm.
you have to, this is another part of loving oneself, is to go, do I love myself enough to not react to waste that energy? that negative energy. That's a waste.
It is.
Save yourself, save it, keep it within, love yourself. Say, nah, I'm not gonna, I don't need to waste that energy, because you don't know. They could be just a jerk, period.
Yeah,
But it's
yeah,
not up to you, you know?
exactly.
So
Exactly. It's really not. And it takes off the pressure on us, you know what I mean?
yeah.
To
And you're not
realize
going
like,
to change somebody's opinion by attacking them back or wasting your energy by even trying to address it, you
yeah,
know?
exactly. Like silence is golden. You know what I mean? You can
Can
continue on
be.
with your life if you just continue on and just realize like, hey, that's something that they're dealing with. That's a personal problem. That's one
That's
thing I
right.
say all the time. Like if it's a personal problem, that's a personal problem. It has nothing to do with me.
That's
You know
right.
what I mean? It has everything to do with you
That's
because it's
right.
like you need to work on that. You need to sit down and have a timeout because
Yeah,
you're throwing a little tantrum and it's okay. I'm still gonna love you, but I'm gonna wait right here. Let me know when you're
that's
done.
right.
You
But
know what I mean? That's
exactly. That's so
because it
great.
happens as an
Yes.
adult. They people get tantrums.
Mhm.
They may not go throw themselves on the floor and kick their feet and scream, but in other ways they will. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? They'll throw
absolutely.
things. They'll punch walls. They will sabotage you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They'll break your car. I mean, there's so many
Yeah.
extremes that people may go into, but it's like
Yeah.
we need to realize what does it really mean and what does it reflect because it's our perspective. So it's like you have to ask yourself, what does it mean for me? Because like emotions are good. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Emotions are there to help you, to make you
Yeah.
realize like where your boundaries are, where your
Yeah.
love is, and it's so much in play. So it's just like we need to recognize when it's coming from or where it's coming from
Hmm.
because even the trauma that we have within us can trigger us at
That's
20,
right.
30, 40, 50, 60,
Oh,
80
yeah.
years old. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It doesn't matter. So it's just like unless you take the
That's
time to
right.
learn, you're never going to really realize like you deserve the same love that you
Yeah.
project out. So it's
That's
like my
right.
question for you is what do you tell people when they are so easily can love the world, but then still have that hard time loving themselves?
Yeah. Well, two things I wanted to say about what you commented on was sometimes people, they just don't have the maturity,
Yes.
right? They just don't, they had the trauma or they had this and they didn't allow themselves to, they got into one thing, led to another, and they're frustrated and they're angry and they just don't have the maturity or the tools to actually
Yeah.
help them through that. So
Hmm.
that's what I wanted to say with that. And it's hard enough to remember that about yourself or somebody else. That's why I always say ask questions,
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
patient and have questions. Um, and so you just asked me the question about say it one more time. Sorry about that.
No, you're perfectly fine.
Yeah. Okay.
It's you're perfectly fine. It was about what would you tell somebody that portrays love to everybody else,
Oh, not
but
to
behind closed, yeah,
themselves.
but not to themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say step back. Like just no, first of all, you got to be aware, right? You got to
Yes.
notice that you're just giving it all away, which we all
Yeah.
do. And I think women have a bigger tendency to do that.
Yeah.
We're mothers, we're sisters, we're right. It's
Yeah.
just in our DNA. And
Hmm.
I think we have to step back. And that's one of the things that I teach in my workshops. Is that you have to step back and you have to get clear. You have to really get clear about what it is that you want and how you want to live in the world. Because if you don't know that, you're going to be interacting and reacting to things all the time, you know?
Yeah.
And how can you love yourself? If you don't know you or what you really want, how can you say, well, no, I won't take that pedicure or no, I won't take that massage. It's like, well, that may be a something special that's a way to love yourself, or just I have boundaries or or being able to speak up and say, um, you know, thank you for your opinion or your thoughts, but I'm, that doesn't apply to me, you know,
Hmm.
or, thank you for sharing, but you know, instead of like, "Nah, why did you get on to me?"
Yeah.
Like that, have this reactions.
Yeah.
So I would say start there, be clear, and then once you're clear about where you're at, then you can have the confidence to speak out, to do this, to do that. Then you have the courage to continue. Then you have the commitment. Then you have the confidence. The community. That's how I look at life, and I do that through my book, Courage. So talk a
Yeah.
lot about that.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful thing too, because people don't realize like it really does take steps, and we have to be patient. When we start this self-love rabbit hole, it goes so deep because we don't realize
Yeah.
how small of just loving yourself. Like you said, you could get a massage, get your feet done, or just taking a shower, you know what I mean? Just
Right?
like brushing your teeth, you know what I mean? Getting up in the I mean, I know it sounds so basic, but that is
No, I
another
get
form of
you.
self-love because people don't even think
Absolutely.
about it like that. Like I have met people who have refused to do just the basics of
Yeah.
just brushing their teeth or putting on
Right.
deodorant. I mean, like you can deserve to not smell stinky. You know what
That's
I
right. That's right. And just be able to take a break, you know. And I think to your point, I really feel like a lot of especially when you have kids, and you probably know this, you really have to have management skills
Yeah.
because not only are you managing you, but you're managing this other little person on a
Mhm.
household or whatever you're doing or a job, right? Add
Mhm.
those together and you just want to like pull out your hair. So you have to like really be organized. And part of that organization is allowing you to understand you so you can put something in for you, you know, and that
Exactly.
may mean, hey, look, guess what? What you're doing on Sunday, you're watching the baby, not me. You know what I mean? And just like, I will be gone
Yeah.
all day, you
Mhm.
know, or
Exactly.
or I need a 15-minute break, or organize yourself so you always get a babysitter. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? It's like it takes a little forethought. We got to be like managers of our lives,
We
and that's
really
for
do.
anybody, really.
Oh, I love that. I love that point because people don't really realize it like that. Like we need to really learn how to manage our lives. Oh my goodness. To love yourself, you got
Yes,
to know how to manage your life. You need to really
correct.
realize, you know what? I'm not going to go out tonight with the girls, or I'm not going to do
Mm-hmm.
this. I'm going to decide to stay home, put my face mask on. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Dim the lights, drink myself whatever that is my specialty. You know what I'm saying? And
Uh-huh.
just like unwind with nobody here. You know, the kids are already asleep. Let me just stay home and just stay up and
Yeah.
just enjoy. Like those little things can just truly bring you joy. And I think that's the thing. Like you need to ask yourself, what brings you joy? And I know
Yeah.
you talked about your book, and I gotta ask you, like, why write your book? You could just do your workshops, you can just help people in your little community, but why decide to share it with the world?
It was actually it was actually a joke, really.
Mhm.
Um, a good friend of mine had been trying to write a book for 10 years. And I thought, how hard can it be? What are you not doing? Why is
Yeah.
this not being written? Yeah, I'm a doer. So
Yeah.
I thought, okay, well, I said to myself, what's your value? What do you have to share? What do you have to offer? And I used to have several girlfriends that I would kind of hang out with, mentor, or whatever. They'd always ask me these key questions. And so I thought, okay, if they're asking me these questions, how do I do that? How do I have clarity, courage, confidence, commitment, community? How does that happen? And
Mhm.
I thought, oh, okay, well, let me do that. So I thought, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to give it a shot, and I'll do an outline. So I did an outline for a book, and that's what came out. And then I said, I'm going to do it in 15 days. It was more like a
Mm.
challenge to myself. And I wrote the
Mhm.
book in 15 days. And then I sat on it for a little while, took a break, and then I came back. And then, of course, then the rewrites happen, and you're like, oh, but I want to
Yeah.
say more about this.
Yeah.
And then I shared it with a mentor of mine, and she said, I have a book editor. You should actually edit this. It's fantastic, and it really will support other people. And I was like, oh, okay. That's kind of how that started.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful because it
Yeah.
just shows like everyone truly has a book within them. You know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
power within us that if we're
Absolutely.
willing to
Great
share with the
stories.
world,
Hmm.
oh my goodness, it can if it can impact one single person, just
Hmm.
one person, then
That's right.
you know that it didn't go in vain, that you can die tomorrow and knowing that you will still live on every time somebody opens that book,
That's
gains
right.
courage, gains clarity, gains understanding, and moves in a direction that takes actions in their life. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like that
I
right
do.
there is powerful in itself. And oh my goodness, it sucks to see that time is catching up to us, Glenda, because I feel like we can continue on talking about so many things.
I know,
It's a
right?
problem. But what can be some lasting words that you can truly leave us off with to keep on thinking?
Yeah. I just, I would say, especially in times that are a little bit challenging, just
Yeah.
ground down and really, sorry, ground out, not ground down, ground out and really allow yourself the time to ask yourself pertinent questions like, what do I really want? Who am
Yeah.
I? Why am I here? Do I have a purpose? What is it? And it can be anything. It doesn't have to be, Grammy nominated, it doesn't have to be, I wrote a book. It doesn't have to be any of that. It can just be, you know what? I loved my mom and my dad, and I took care of them in the later years.
Mm,
You know,
absolutely.
just that's where I'd say start there and just allow
Absolutely.
yourself to get support.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, but not to be afraid of that. Not to be afraid to speak up for what you need
Yeah.
and what you want.
Yeah.
To know that there may be a lot of people who may not care, but there are also thousands, millions of people who actually care and who actually want to help in some
That's
way,
right.
shape, or form, but they just don't know who to help. They can't just solicit their help because there's a lot of bad people out there. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And a lot of people that just misuse those people kindness. But when you find true,
Hmm.
genuine person who wants to help
Yeah.
you, oh, take advantage of it because that
Yeah.
comes from a place of goodness where they know that they are in their purpose and serving
That's right.
directly the way that they need to, because that's once you find your purpose, and everyone's purpose is some way, shape, or form in the service
That's right.
industry. We realize like we are all doing this
Yeah.
together, because
That's
at the
right.
end of the day all we really have is ourselves. Like the human race is all that we have on this earth that we know. Like yeah, there's other animals, mammals, and whatever else that
Yeah.
may be amongst us, but at the same time it's like I see you, you see me, and at the end of the day, that's all that's there is
Yeah.
human, that human sight, you know what I mean? That
Yeah.
physical touch and stuff, and that
Yeah.
we
And see,
we can get so
a
lost.
note to note to what you're saying too, I think what's really powerful for all of us is to know that we are all connected
Yes,
and that
yes.
the more you love yourself, the more you can pay attention and love not only other people, but like you said, the animals and the planet, because we're all connected. If one
Yeah,
thing dies, then you will die. That's just
mhm.
how it works. It's
It
just we're
really
a
does.
biological, quantum field here. And
Yeah.
so we really need to wake
Like,
up,
yes.
start loving yourself and do
Hmm.
it in a really positive way and look at other things around you. Don't live outside yourself, but look around you and go, "Ooh, they need help. Ooh, let me pick up that can. Ooh, let me just don't, abuse this person." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And I think
absolutely.
have the bravery to step into that.
Yes.
Hmm.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for adding that. Yes, that holds so much value, and it really does tie in what I was trying to say. So yes, you were boom, boom. You were right there, Glenda. Yes, you were. Thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, if you guys enjoy this conversation, because how could you not? Please go check out Glenda. I have her photo on my website. Find it, click it, go straight to her website. Find so much great content, so many great books, so that you can continue on thinking. Because isn't that the point, ladies and gentlemen? Yes, it is. So keep on thinking, and bye bye.